This is a soul-stirring episode. You want to tune in and hear Polly Hamp. She shares her journey from trauma and false identity to healing and freedom and purpose. She is on fire. She is the real deal. She's an informed speaker and coach. And if you want to be encouraged, if you need to think differently, tune in.
As always, Kelly, well said. Let's get to it. Okay, welcome to this week's podcast. We have a great show for you today. Good morning, ladies. How are you doing today?
Very good, thank you.
Okay, we have Polly on our show today. She's going to be talking about some amazing stuff. And Kelly, why don't you do a formal introduction for Polly to our audience, and then we could dig into the show.
I would love to. So today's guest is someone who knows what it's like to walk through deep trauma and come out on the other side, not just surviving, but fully alive, glowing, thriving. I'm so inspired by Polly. She is a trauma-informed coach. She is an international speaker. She is a fierce advocate for healing and freedom. And she's going to show us how to do it today on the show, no matter how empty you feel, no matter how long you've been stuck, or how late in life it seems, healing and thriving is possible. So Polly, thank you so much for being with us today.
Thank you so much for having me. I'm really excited about today's topic and what you guys represent and present as well, especially, that over 50 where it's like, oh man, that's the last part of my life. It's like, oh no, this is like just the beginning. And so we have so much. So I'm really excited.
Hey, Polly, before we start,
Yes,
I think I know a person we might be able to connect you with. He was on our show like a week or so ago. Really good-looking guy. He's got nice hair, deep voice, very charismatic. I think his name was, what was it, Bob? I don't know. Okay.
That name sounds really familiar.
Handsome devil, man.
Yeah.
Big old head of hair, too. So, I was definitely jealous of all of that darn
The
hair.
blonde guy, right?
Yep.
He's like, I'm not silver, I'm blonde.
Very hypnotic voice he had there. So after the show, we'll make sure we connect the two of you.
Yeah, that would be great. I'd love that. Yeah, maybe he and I can go get dinner or something.
Hey,
and get married and, live a fabulous, wonderful life.
Change the world.
Yeah.
And that is amazing. So why don't you share with our audience kind of your backstory and, what you went through. I was watching some interviews you were doing on YouTube, and it's an incredibly moving story of some of the stuff that you've gone through. So let's talk about that first and foremost, and then we can get into everything else.
Yeah, I would love to share that because I think it's so important for us to know that, I'll just start with this real quick. I believed that, I wanted to believe that you could fully heal from trauma. And I work with, clients who have high-level traumas, PTSD, CPTSD, really helping with neuroscience and helping them heal their nervous systems. And I have my own story in that. And so I always wanted to believe that you could fully heal. And except there was that part of me that was like, oh, I don't know if it can actually happen because the damage is so extreme. Like I've got scars on my arms from a snowmobile accident. And even though the bones are healed, the scars are still there. And sometimes it's actually still tender. And so it's like, okay, can we truly heal? And I just want to start before I start telling my story. Yes, you can fully heal. And when I say fully heal, that doesn't mean you're not necessarily going to have some triggers. You're not necessarily going to have some situations where your nervous system feels on fire. What healing means is that you know what it is. And you're able to connect to it in a way where you're like, oh, I know what this is. And I don't have to shut down or go back to the old ways of addictions or, overeating or disconnecting or anger or fear. It's like I can literally stay present and walk it out and live from that place. And so a bit of my backstory is I started being sexually abused at the age of 3. That's the earliest I can remember. I don't know if there's more abuse in the backdrop of that. I've not ever been shown that within my healing journey. So 3 is the earliest I remember, and it was started by my biological father, and there were also other men in that mix, and I don't know who they were. And so from age 3 to around 7 and 8, when the abuse stopped, the formation of my life was pretty much created. And so my belief system was sex is love, abuse is love, and I am just an object. And so I took that messaging, and through my more formative years, starting around 7 and 8, and getting into 10, I became incredibly promiscuous. I started using drugs, alcohol. I have rapes, an abortion, just all of these things that formed me into this belief system of incredible pain. But I didn't know how to ask for help, because I was groomed in that, and I didn't know it was wrong. I just knew there was something wrong, and I felt like it was me. And so after that, I have all, 14 is the first time I'd gotten pregnant and then had an abortion. And, from that, I'm like, okay, I want to live a healthier, life and all that. But my nervous system was so on fire all of the time. Extreme depression, always looking for ways to numb myself. And, so I get into high school and I vacillate between this party girl, and I'm sneaking out every single night and I'm partying, but I'm also trying to be this varsity tennis player. And somehow I actually graduate high school, which was a miracle in itself, because I was the girl that was failing 2nd and 3rd grade. Like, 2nd and 3rd graders don't fail. And clearly there was something going on, but nobody at that time was able to pinpoint what it was. And I didn't know how to talk about it because I was threatened to not talk about it. So I ended up protecting my abusers. And so it's just a very twisted mindset of trying to figure out life. And so I get into college, and with high-level traumas and CPTSD and PTSD, and not even high-level traumas, any kind of trauma. There's no big rock, little rock, all that. Whatever your experience is and your trauma that you've navigated, it's yours. So please don't ever say, well, God, thank goodness mine isn't that bad. Never equate another person's trauma to your trauma, because that's your experience, and that's what your nervous system is learning to navigate in survival. And so I get into college. One of the things that happens in trauma is that we compartmentalize, and it is a survival mechanism. And I truly believe it is a beautiful gift from God that our nervous systems compartmentalize so we can actually survive. And so I had multiple compartments of my life, including, my tennis player life and my, crazy party girl life, and living these different compartmentalized lives. And then I get into college and I'm like, I am going to be a good girl. The fact that I got into college, I was an art major, film minor. I wanted to be in animation. I went to Stephen F. Austin in Nacogdoches, Texas. And I go into school and I'm like, okay, this is my chance to be really good. This is my chance to get my stuff together. And I'm not going to do any of that junk and any of the things that I was doing in school. So I'm like, cut it off. I'm going to be a good girl. I get into college. That lasts a few weeks. And I have this friend, quote unquote friend. I always do these little quotes because usually that means they're not a really good friend. And frenemy, exactly. And I had graduated high school, or he had graduated a year before me, and he was at school, and he said, hey, Polly, I'm DJing at a strip club. Would you be interested in dancing? You could make a frick ton of money. And the thing is, I didn't need the money. My dad paid for my school. My second chance daddy, my stepdad, not my biological father. My second chance dad paid for my school. I had allowance, but it wasn't about the money. It was about a mindset. In my mindset, I'm thinking, this is my chance to control men. This is my chance to say, yes, you can touch me. No, you can't. And if I say yes, you're going to pay a lot of money. And that was a lie from the pit of hell. And I was in the industry for almost 2 years before I tried to take my life. I sat in the parking lot after almost 2 years of dancing, also trying to go to school, trying to live this very, very separate life, but just really trying to survive. And at the end of that, I just could not, in my mind, I did not want to be alive anymore because it was so painful. And so I sat in a parking lot. And at this time in my life, I'm an atheist. I don't believe in God. And if there's a God, how could he be so, how could he let such horrible things happen to a little girl, was my statement. So after that, I was seeing a counselor at the time, and I called her, and she put me into a inpatient program, where this is like the first time I had this inpatient program, and it was not faith-based, but I started getting some help, and I started having just kind of an opportunity to rest and heal my nervous system. However, I never went back into the industry, but I did, the industry didn't leave me. So I may have never danced again, but the industry hadn't left me yet. And when I say that, I want to just kind of put a little pause here, because I want to talk about the industry. So many people are like, oh my God, you were in the sex industry. You were a stripper, what? And I just want to say something that I had started a ministry back in 2010, reaching out to women in the sex industry, any part of the sex industry, be it, stripping, porn, film, all the different types of industries. And the statistic is up to 95% of women who are in the sex industry have been sexually abused as children. This also includes boys and men. And and I would say, with the demographic that I worked with within the ministry, I would say 99%, because we're literally groomed for the industry. Because of the abuse that took place as a child, it seemed like the next natural step for me to step into that. And so that is kind of like the formation of my life, of the abuse, then making the choices that I made, but then also the things that happened to me, and then trying to take my life, and then from there no longer being in the industry, but then how do I survive outside of that? And just kind of a quick timeline. I ended up getting pregnant when I was 23, married the guy that I got pregnant from, my daughter's dad. And I ended up having twins, identical twins, at 23 years old. And so another hyper compartmentalization of I go from this crazy life, and then I cut it off, and all of a sudden I'm a stay-at-home mom to these twin girls, and now I get to be a mom. And it's okay, I'm going to forget all the junk behind me. I'm going to forget all that stuff back there. And now I have to be a mom. I get to be a mom. I loved being a mom. Oh my gosh. I mean, I'm still a mom, but my girls are 29 years old now and have their own families and all that kind of stuff. And so, just kind of this progression, but I still had so much pain. And I started working on my healing, started really, I came to know the Lord when I'm in October of 99, after my girls were around 3 years old. And just, kind of in that journey and healing and navigating and all the things in between, and then eventually learning, oh, I have a little gnat, sorry. Eventually learning how to heal my nervous system through several different therapies. And there's so much in between that, but that is the formation story to where I get to live fully healed now, free and connected to myself, but connected to my creator, and get to do what I do now because of that story. So I'll pull up there because I could keep talking for a really long time about all of that. Yeah, there's my book.
What else could happen to one woman? Like, I mean, every page was like, oh my goodness, there's more. Oh my goodness. I mean, and now seeing you sitting here today as this, powerful, strong, beautiful woman, people would probably not believe this story that you just told was true. And I hope people do get the book and read even more details.
For those of you who are listening, not watching, it's Cherished is the correct
Yes,
name of the book.
Shattered Innocence and Restored Hope. It is Cherished by Polly Hamp. And at the end, we'll tell you all the places you can get it. But if you want to say real quick, Polly, the best place to get the book, you're welcome to.
Thank you.
Is it Amazon or?
Oh, sorry. I'm sorry. My battery I forgot to plug my battery in. Amazon. Yeah, you can get it on Amazon. You can get it on our academy, which is tdacad.com, which is Think Differently Academy. That's Bob and I's that cute guy that you guys interviewed last week.
I didn't say he was cute. I said he was handsome. Let's just be very, very, very.
Mark, I'm pretty sure you said he was cute.
I was jealous of his hair, no doubt. Okay, so
you have great hair, Mark.
And the book has a study guide too, and we're gonna
there's a
get
study
into
guide.
the hows. We want to get into the meat of now
So-
how do you do it?
I got to ask a couple of. First of all, thank you for sharing the story. It's always amazing when you see people take what I call their mess and turn it into their message. And there has to be, if you're not the most religious, I think I recently got thrown into all this after doing everything totally a mess in my life and found a lot more God in my life. I'd still like it to be a little bit on a deeper level, but being around people like both of you, I think is definitely going to have an impact on me. But one thing I wanted to touch on here is I don't think a lot of people realize when your nervous system gets hijacked from trauma, what takes place. Like these little firefighters, as I've seen people refer to them to, that serve people. So maybe we got people in our age group that have, maybe they may not have the traumas or maybe they haven't been in touch with them, but what goes on? How can you recognize when somebody, it's obvious, fight or flight constant, but can you be more specific on that?
Absolutely. Yeah, it is. The firefighter terminology is from, I can't remember his name, the gentleman who created IFS, the internal family systems, and the different, the three different modalities of survival. And, the things that that as somebody who is maybe not connected to trauma or going, do I really have trauma? Or, I don't know what's wrong with me, but it is really this unconscious state. And I want to be mindful because so many times we blame ourselves and thinking that there's something wrong with us. It's like, what's wrong with me? I can't control this, all of that. And so it's our subconscious that our brainstem that's not designed for creation. It's not a time to create, and it's not a time to, connect or digest and all of that. It is literally the brainstem that shuts everything down so you can survive. But if you've lived in your brainstem and the downstairs part of your brain the majority of your life because of trauma, then you're experiencing disconnection, you experience extreme fatigue, you experience agitation, depression, anxiety, panic attacks, all these different expressions because your nervous system is looking for an answer to keep you not dead. And so many times we look at a level 1 thought process of just like words and ideas. And if I can just change how I think, if I can just change, it's like, well, I'm not bad, but wait, what if I am bad? And it's this place of going where, what is Einstein, or it's not Einstein who says it, but it is Einstein. You can't fix a problem at the problem level. And so it's that recognition of going, well, maybe it's my nervous system. And there's so much fantastic information out there right now about our nervous systems. And I think, we can be overwhelmed by all of the information. However, I so want to simplify it to this place of going, you're not broken. You're not messed up. This is physiological, which is like releases so much shame, because if you're blaming yourself for, the way that you react, the way that you respond, the way that you have anxiety or panic or extreme anger, extreme irritation, there's a place for a responsibility shift, and we can talk about that in a second. However, it's physiological. And so when you are consciously aware, when you can start putting language to what's going on, it's like, I feel this anxiety. So many times we are, it's either an automatic response for protection, or it's something we've been told. It's like, don't have feelings. Suck it up. Feelings are bad. Suck it up, buttercup. Put your big girl panties on, whatever. Not you, Mark, your big boy panties, underwear. And, and it's all of that. It's like, but it is this thing of, stop sucking it up.
I wanted to address something that you just said is very important that people may miss, is that people who go through trauma, maybe you can elaborate on this, especially being molested, example, your uncle's here, go hang out with your uncle. I don't want to hang out with my uncle, but no, go ahead. He's fine, this and that. When you shut down your intuition as a child, you tend to shut it down as an adult. And then you tend to make decisions that aren't based on listening to your intuition. Maybe you can elaborate on that, because you just kind of said that in different words.
Yeah, that's yes, because again, you're trained and you're groomed to shut off your own needs and shut off your intuition. And because the people that are raising you and whatever that is, it's like, yeah, Uncle so-and-so is fine. And it's like, yeah, Mom, but I don't like hanging out with him because he gives me the creeps, or something else, and it's like, oh, it's fine. And, the family will protect the family until it doesn't. And this is usually incredibly generational. And so it is that place of really, I know this language gets used a lot, but reparenting yourself and really connecting to that intuition and trusting it, and bringing that to the forefront, instead of the intuition going, there's something wrong with me, oh, that person's not really bad. Because what happens is we create this whole group of people who are now people pleasers, who, it's like, oh gosh, I have to do what I'm told. I have to, to make everybody else okay. I have to carry their emotional weight. I have to carry their emotional sickness. And I'm responsible for that. And in the process of the different healings and recognizing your nervous system is on fire, you're in the downstairs part of your brain, it is that place of going, and the things that I can recognize inside of myself, when I have that little pop up, that intuition, that I know something, but I don't quite know how I know it, start listening to it. One of the things that I teach constantly is curiosity opens up possibility. And in the beginning, your intuition, it might be so out of whack, kind of like, it's like if you've kind of, your body's out of whack and you're going to your chiropractor and things like that. It's an experiment to get it realigned and adjusted. The same thing with your intuition. It might be kind of out of whack, and you might make judgments based on an experience, or your intuition is like, hey, don't go sit next to this person. Don't walk down that really dark alley, you know. And it's this place of experimenting, being curious, and that opens up possibility. And then when you start connecting more in alignment to the true intuition inside of you, it opens up a whole nother, let me say it this way. Your nervous system starts trusting you. Your brain starts trusting you. Your body starts trusting you. You start trusting you. And it is a ripple effect to healing.
And I think that's a really good point. I just want to take one caveat further. A lot of times, because you shut down the intuition, we tend to repeatedly make bad choices and decisions that we don't, and then we go into that negative loop, right? Where we start saying, oh, there's something wrong with me, when it's really the underlying shame that's probably the majority of things that are taking place. And a lot of people also don't realize that their self-talk, you know, is always trying to, you said it's trying to protect you, okay? It's trying to get your attention. You said, I think you said the exact words, it's trying to keep your butt alive, okay? Which is, it's saying, hey, this is a reason to stay alive, okay? That's your intuition, but your self-talk might be trying to talk you out of things that might lead to perceived pain. So I kind of said that, but backwards there, but ultimately, there's a big difference between the self-talk and the intuition. Most of us listen to the loudest voice, which is the negative self-talk, but the intuition wants homeostasis, wants to keep you alive, healthy, and all that good stuff. So, well said. Kelly?
Yeah. So on this journey of uncovering, and I'm sure a lot of people are really connected and on the edge of their seats now of like, what do I do? Where do I start? What does this practically look like to begin to walk out this journey?
So the thing is if just real quick, what Mark said is we are so, the old voice in our mind, I call it the internal dialogue when I teach it in my course. And it's this, the internal dialogue that plays is so familiar. It's almost like a comfortable blanket. It's like, oh, and the dopamine receptors get released. It's like, oh yeah, I know this. Like, it's like, you know, we can, you know, the familiar repeat of our day after day after day after day after day until we start interrupting it. And the way to interrupt it is to become consciously aware. And when I say that, it is, you know, it's like, well, I am conscious. I walk through the day, and I'm like, are you? Because it says, you know, the statistics, I believe it's 90% of us live an unconscious life, especially after 30, because we have created this path that repeats itself. We could literally lay our day on top of our day, the whole Groundhog Day thing, day on top of our day. You know, I know how I'm going to respond at the grocery store. I know how I'm going to respond when I drive to work. I know the things I'm going to create in my mind. And did you know that your body doesn't know the difference between what you've experienced and what you can actually create in your mind and the feelings? And so that means you have the power to change it. You are not like, you're not just going to be swept away by the waves of life. You get to choose to change it. And it is that awakening, which is like, wait, I am so much more freaking powerful than I believed. And so, you know, you start paying attention to that internal dialogue. You start paying attention to the responses of anxiety. You know, it's like, oh man, when I have this conversation with this person, I create this whole scenario in my head, and I feel the emotional state. In the next couple of days, I'm like on the fritz, or I'm always worried about, what did I say? Did I say it wrong? Are they going to like me? You know, all of that. Or do I like me? You know, it's like all of that kind of stuff. And when you start paying attention to that internal dialogue, you pull it out, like literally, if you can visualize it, you know, not everybody is visual. However, we are all visual. And if you can pull out and go, how do I know this? Not why. Why keeps you in a loop. How? How did I come to believe this? How do I know this? And how does this create a belief system? And how does it affect my nervous system? That is you becoming consciously aware. And then you move up to the connected part of your brain, which releases oxytocin. It is your thinking brain. It has all of this power that is not a survival part of your brain. And it gives you authority to be able to go, I'm recognizing it, so put language to it. Put recognition of where you feel it in your body. It's like, oh, I feel this in my gut. Listen to your language. It's like, are you, man, the life gets sucked out of me every time I talk to this person. You're telling yourself that somebody has the power to suck the life out of you. Listen to those little cues, because your thoughts and your language create a pathway in how you believe and how you see and experience yourself and the world. And so when you do that, and when you start recognizing that, it's literally, it's waking up out of the matrix. And I don't know if you've seen The Matrix, but one of my favorite lines is Neo is like, why do my eyes hurt? It's like, because it's the first time you've actually used them. So become consciously aware, start putting language to the things you're experiencing, and then you move up into that connected part of your brain. And from there was a point I was going to make, and I'm sorry, something popped up on my screen, and I'm like, gotta get it. So, become consciously aware, move up into that connected part of your brain, start putting language to it, and then be curious. And from that is a ripple effect of incredible freedom. And if you have high level trauma like abuse, I chose to and had the opportunity to do some incredible therapies, and one of them was EMDR. And I will tell you, it is freaking hard, because I got to go through my story, right? And but be rewired, literally.
Can you elaborate what EMDR is, and
100%,
for everybody? So
Yeah. It is a therapy that's been around probably for maybe 30 plus years, if not longer. It was designed to work with veterans that had PTSD. And EMDR is eye movement desensitization reprocessing. And it is a bilateral stimulation. And it can either be visual, it can be physical, where somebody moves a finger back. So if you're listening to this audio, fingers back and forth, where your eyes go back and forth, or it's physical, where you're tapping bilaterally, say on knees, or if you can do your chest and things like that. And what happens is, when you're doing that and you're processing your story and you're shifting it, it literally rewires your mind and nervous system because of the bilateral stimulation. And it is pretty fantastic. And I had incredible success with it. Not everybody has success with it. Each of us have different modalities of how we'll heal. However, if you do EMDR, please make sure you work with somebody that is not just trained but certified, and has been doing it for a while, because anybody can be certified in it. But I believe, just like any kind of therapies, there's an art to a therapy, specific therapies, and people's intuition and ability to be able to walk you through processes.
Kelly, have you ever done EMDR?
I
or
did.
No?
I've done a few sessions, and I was really working on joy. I realized that my life was lacking joy, and I didn't really have any good examples of it in the past that I could remember. And so I really wanted to get in touch with, why have I not experienced joy, and then how do I tap into that? And it's really 2 sessions of EMDR. The first session's kind of an orientation a little bit, but 2 actual sessions. And she used a buzzer, and it was in my hands, and it was like going right, left, right, left, right, left. And after 2 sessions, I felt so much more joy. She's like, I think you're good if that's what you wanted to work on. No, I can go back and work on other things, but I absolutely felt like whatever was keeping me from joy, that I received it, and it was palpable. And I have sent many people, whether they were in the military or had other traumas, and they have had incredible breakthroughs. Sometimes it's just a one-time event, a bad breakup, something, and they've gone. And so I am a big fan of EMDR.
So two quick stories. Number one is this: for those of you listening, imagine staring at somebody's finger, and then they're moving the finger over to either the left or the right side of your eyes, and you follow it with your eyes. What you're actually doing is you're accessing either the creative side or the memory side of the brain, interrupting patterns, creating new neural pathways. Does that sound about right, Polly? Or
Yeah, that sounds,
okay.
yeah.
So you're able to access, areas there in a safe fashion, and not maybe experience any emotional repercussions from accessing that trauma. So the first story, I did this in New Jersey with a therapist. Creepiest experience I ever had with this dude. I literally ran out of there. I was like, "Get me out of this place." This guy was so creepy. So make sure you find somebody reputable. The
100%.
second experience I did when I was going through my wonderful divorce, and I did it with a local therapist here, and he was good, but the story goes is he actually quit doing therapy while he was seeing me. He's like, I can't do therapy anymore. So the narrative I created off of that is my case was so darn bad for him, he quit during therapy. He couldn't take it anymore. He's like, this was the one that did me in. I'm out of here. I quit. So I don't know. Maybe that was the case, but it is very effective. It's definitely different, but it is very effective for the most part. But it's a little weird if you're not used to it, for sure.
Yeah, I think there's one of the things that, trauma is a physical experience, and talk therapy can't just get to the physical. And there's got to be some other therapies. Like, I'm a licensed NLP master practitioner, and that is, it's a way of rewiring the mind and the way of thinking of how we store our trauma and our memories and things like that. And just in a few moments, I can help somebody disconnect the power of the experience from the memory, and their nervous system's no longer on fire. So it's similar to EMDR, just the processing and the way that you do it is different. And the thing is that it is this place of, it is weird. However, talk therapy will help. I think it's important, but it can't, I believe it can't be the only way to heal your nervous system, because trauma is so physical and emotional, and connected to your nervous system and verbal communication.
Trauma changes the gray matter in your brain. You're
100%.
altering your brain chemistry. So
Yes.
unless you're dealing with it on all ends, you're fighting an uphill battle. And this has been a topic that I've been really diving into. So I love having you share all this stuff. And we have some things in common. You do NLP, I do hypnosis. That's all the same kind of stuff.
It is. I'm actually trained in hypnosis as well. Yeah.
That's which NLP sounds a lot better to most people than
It
hypnosis.
does.
They think about barking and clucking and all that crap. So
Yeah, we don't
see
do
on
that.
TV. So let's move forward here. So we left off in 1999. Okay, so
Now the
we still
twins.
got a long story to go here. That's another.
Oh gosh.
Okay. So I noticed this. You were getting interviewed. I forget the name of the doctor. This was on YouTube about 8 months ago. Really well done interview. And you were talking about the weight that you went up to. Okay. Which, can you tell everybody what that weight was?
Yeah, I hit 190 pounds.
And how tall are you?
I'm 5'6", and it was the largest I had ever been. I wasn't even, and I know people are like, that's not that much, but it was for me.
No, that's 190 pounds. That's a decent amount of weight.
It's
Yeah,
60
no doubt.
pounds over the weight, the healthiest weight.
You also talked about arthritis. You also talked about autoimmune stuff kicking in here. Let's talk about that. Let's see what happened with all that. Let's share that, and how much is that's tied to some of the things that took place early on in your life.
Yeah, I would say that statistically, and read Gabor Mate's information, Van der Kolk, who wrote The Body Keeps the Score, Pete Walker, all these different doctors, and I believe it was Dr. Ben Edwards is maybe the interview. Was it with Bob and I? Do you remember?
No, it was just you and a doctor. I forget her name. Was she had black hair? It was a nice little studio you all had. I could
Oh yeah. Oh yes. Terry Deny. Yes.
Terry, Dr. Terry.
Yeah,
That's
Dr.
right.
Terry
Yeah.
Deny. Yes. And so autoimmune is so connected to trauma. And 80% of the people who have autoimmune are women. And so when you think about autoimmune, it's the immune system turning on itself and attacking it's much more complex than that, but it's literally the immune system turns on itself and attacks it. And so there's so many different autoimmune diseases out there. And I believe I was diagnosed in 2009 with rheumatoid arthritis, and I wish, it's one of those things. Hindsight is always 20/20. But I wish I knew then what I know now about the mind and connecting to a diagnosis, besides what I totally fully accepted as punishment. And I believed, rheumatoid arthritis is the immune system and turning on itself and attacking the joints.
What do you mean
And
by punishment? Elaborate on that.
so I hated myself
Go ahead. I think a lot of
so
people are
much.
struggling with exactly what you're talking about right now that are listening or watching this. Please
Yeah.
get as deep as you can into this.
Like I hated myself, loathed myself, everything about me. There was everything wrong, and my the way that I justified it was, if I'm the bad person, then maybe the world isn't so bad. That the things that are happening to me, the choices that I make, because I have choices, but the people that I'm around, and the life that I have created, it was so painful. And from that, it's like, if I'm the bad person, then I can blame myself. And again, the belief system was, that means maybe the world out there isn't so bad. And so in 2009, I was diagnosed with rheumatoid arthritis. I was playing on a tennis team, or like 3 tennis teams, leagues. My girls were in school, it just life. I lived in an affluent neighborhood. I had this great bubble in this life that I thought was all the things. And it's just covering up all of the pain. And so when I was diagnosed, it literally brought me to my knees, because I couldn't play tennis anymore. I had used alcohol for a numbing agent, and so drank a lot. Had, again, a compartmentalized life. I was going to a Baptist church, and I was volunteering at the church and all that kind of stuff. And then I'm also, having 3 martini lunches with my tennis girls. And so just my body's like, yeah, we're not going to do that anymore. But through the whole thing, I had always hated myself. And so my body just went into alignment with the way that I was trying to survive. It's like, oh, we hate ourselves? We're going to turn and we're going to attack the joints. So there you go, rheumatoid arthritis.
God, I'm sorry.
No,
I was
go
going to
ahead,
say
Mark.
that the pattern is abuse, recklessness, firefighters doing whatever we can to numb things. Then it becomes feeling not worthy, a lot of shame, and then it becomes hate.
Yeah.
And then it becomes an effect on our overall health. This is a very common pattern that takes place. So if you are out there right now and this is taking place for you, there's solutions. This is not something you have to stick with. So amazing, amazing story. And just a quick thing, Kelly, I've shared with you some of the days I've sat in bed for 2 or 3 days since this divorce, because I've had a massive amount of inflammation in my body. And I take care of my body for the most part. Probably the worst thing I drink is coffee in a bird cup here. See, that's me. So,
What a cute
okay. Look at that bird cup there, man. But if you guys are just listening and not watching this stuff, you got to get on YouTube and look at that bird cup. That is precious, man. So that being said, you went from hating. Let's talk about turning this thing around.
Yeah. So part of the process, I ended up getting a divorce back in 2015. And through the process, then, I married Bob, and
Okay, so how did you meet
I
Bob? I gotta hear the Bob story here. Okay,
I
so
actually had
did
met
Bob come
Bob.
in like, here I am to
He had
save the
come
day with
all
with all that hair, or where did Bob come in? Okay, or did you just say, I'm gonna snatch this guy? And how did you know he was a solid guy in your life? I
So
mean, with all
I
the
married
traumas, sometimes we create these hyper needs where, okay, I attract bad men, and then we continue to attract those patterns.
Oh
So
yeah.
You're giving
so
us
what
hope.
happened there?
Oh yeah. So I had actually met Bob while I was married, and he was married, and we met back in 2011 after I had started the ministry that I had talked about, reaching out to women in the sex industry. It was called We Are Cherished, and there was some trainings up at the church that he worked at, and so I had met him there. And so the really cool thing is that I got to see him be who he is, separate from attraction, right? And I got and vice versa. And so he got to see me and experience me separate of, while we're married to other people. And so he ends up going through a divorce, I end up going through a divorce, and we reconnect. And it's like, because I made an inner vow. I'm like, I will never date again. My picker is broken, and I'm good. Thank you very much. And I do not want to repeat anything. And so I'm just gonna go do my thing. And God's like, Mwahaha. I have a different plan. And so it worked out really well. And it was this thing again. It's like we knew each other and we knew of each other and had experienced each other, of course, in the work world, in the ministry world. And so it was really a blessing of how we got to be connected over time. And then we're like, well, we should just get married. And so we did in 2017, and we've been married for, I think, 8.5 years now. And, the thing that happened, which I want all audiences and everybody to really recognize this. There's going to be this pendulum swing that happens. Not always, but the majority of time it happens where your nervous system's on fire, you're doing your healing work, and you may have it all together, or you think you have it all together, and then it's like you get to this place where you feel safe. And it was that place where, Bob and I got married, and I'm like, I feel safe. I feel protected. What happened is because of that, all this other lovely stuff got to come up, and it's like, hey, you have a lot more pain and you have a lot more trauma. And I'm like, wait, hold on. And so while I was married to, well, I'm still married to Bob, but during our earlier years is when I gained all of my weight. And I had been, 170 before. I had vacillated. I've done all these hundreds of diets. I'm sure it's hundreds. It feels like hundreds. But, all of these yo-yo diets, skinny, fat, all this up and down. But when I got married to Bob and felt safe, I pendulum swinged to this, now I'm 190 pounds, and I'm still working on my healing, and I hate my body, and I still hate me. And so this moment of, I was standing in front of the mirror at my 190, and I'm looking, and I'm nitpicking every single ounce of my body. It's like, there's a dimple there, there's an age spot there, you're fat, I can't believe you let yourself get to this. I'm just literally shredding myself with the worst things I could say to myself. And I'm standing there, and I hear this voice, and it's, you hated yourself when you were your smallest. And I'm like, excuse me? It's like, you hated yourself when you were smallest. So baby girl, this is not about your weight. This is about your heart. This is about your mindset. This is how you see yourself. That moment was my epiphany moment. It changed everything for me. And even though I still had my kind of ups and downs with some of the stuff I was navigating, health wise, it wasn't like I lost all the weight and then kept it off. It's like, lose the weight, gain a little bit more, lose the weight, gain a little bit more, back and forth. But in that pendulum swing, me coming back to center and present with myself was part of the process. And now I live in this place of like, it's not hard to be healthy anymore. It's not me arm wrestling myself to make myself eat a certain way, work out a certain way. It's like, oh no, I get to take care of this body. And I have a freaking blast. Do I want to eat nachos every day? Sometimes, yeah. And it's like, but it's like, okay, and I know what that does to my body. So just like staying consciously aware and connected to myself, I make choices from that place that is all about whole health and taking care of myself. And now I freaking love myself, and not in an arrogant way where I'm like, I have a big head, I'm great. Not like that. It's like I genuinely love myself with this powerful peace inside where I'm like, I get to live this out and have a blast doing it. And so I just encouraging people that you're gonna do the hard work, and there's gonna be uncomfortableness, and you're gonna be squirmy, and there's gonna be tension, and there's gonna be resistance, and there's gonna be pendulum swings and all of that kind of stuff, but stay connected. I call it POP, the power of the pause. The best way to get out of that brainstem is to literally pop off, pause, take a deep breath, and see yourself moving up into that connection place to where you can stay fully present. You connect to self, connect to your creator, and from that brings life, clarity, curiosity, and peace.
I think a couple of things you said that I want to reiterate is that you went from a position of hate to being comfortable and starting to love yourself. So I've developed this kind of philosophy that when it comes to weight and stop smoking are my main kind of things I deal with here, is that most people focus on, eat less, exercise more, the basics. Here's your diet, here's your 10,000 steps, go do this, go eat that, don't eat this crap. Below that is where the weight is. It's either unresolved trauma, not that you're going to resolve the trauma, but you can certainly take the disempowering belief system and turn it into at least an empowering belief system where everything serves us in a pain and pleasure mode. That's the first thing. I think I lost my second train of thought here, but maybe you could jump in while I figure it out, Kelly. The second thing I think it was is that we have unresolved or not unresolved trauma. We have either conflicting or unfulfilled values in our life, and we use food as the escapism for ourselves there. So, and that self-love shift that you did, that epiphany moment that you did have, people need to be aware those things are serving us all day long. Your intuition is saying, "Hey, wake the hell up! This is what we're trying to do. We're trying to get your ass back to where it's healthy, feeling good, loving yourself again." So, well said. Absolutely well said.
I've been able to watch this on social media with Bob and Polly it's probably, I'd say close to 2 years now, but especially in the last 8 months. And I know you've both done 75 Hard, but I just saw your most recent photo shoot. It is like, bam, pow, she is owning it. I saw you in your bikini on the beach, and this is not fake. This is so real. Like, you own it, you love it. It's not done in any arrogant way. It's not from any place of ego, but to say you've arrived, and I know you'll just keep getting better from here, but I'm thinking of the women and men in our audience who are listening who are going, okay, give us some of the practical things. Like, what did you do?
Here's the thing I just got to hammer this home. I'm sorry. Is you said something so profound. I want to repeat this. People are waiting to start loving themselves when they achieve the things they want to achieve. If the love doesn't start in advance, and I don't know if it's just because when we get at a certain age, that we start saying, screw everything, I'm just going to be whatever at this point, not please everybody, not do this, not do that, just start taking care of myself. I don't know if that's the time period in our life. Maybe I think it has a little bit to do with it, but you said, I'm going to stop hating myself and start loving myself. And what took place? Well, you got out of fight or flight mode. The brain became creative. You got out of the emotional state. You went to the prefrontal cortex. You started solving things, problem solving things, and things kind of shifted from you. Now, did it help that being in a relationship that was a solid relationship, so you could let your masculine energy down, and so your feminine energy could shine? Maybe, but it certainly didn't hurt. But at the end of the day, you decided, you made the decision, you took ownership. And I think that's the key thing. If you are struggling right now, man, don't wait till the thing happens in order for it to happen. I mean, you teach NLP, you know that the subconscious mind, if you could tie an emotion to it and get yourself to visualize yourself as a future changed person and tie an emotion to that, you don't need to do it, physically. Awesome stuff. Okay, now let's get into the mechanics.
Yeah.
What the heck did you do to get out of arthritis, to get to autoimmune diseases, to get into a bathing suit?
Yeah.
And don't say 75 hard. Let's not promote
No
this crap,
way.
okay?
I will
I'm
not
not
say
doing.
that.
I'll do 42
Take all these
easy,
pills,
okay?
the shot. Yeah, I'm kidding. Don't. Yeah. Okay. Sorry. Yeah. Yeah. Oh gosh. So the thing is love yourself right where you are. And I will tell you, those words are probably like, oh, that's not that simple. No, it's not. Like, I had to learn to love myself at 190. And when I did that, my body's like, oh, it started trusting me. My body started trusting me. And from that, like, I still had to make decisions from that place. I still had to take responsibility for my health. And it's not about 75 hard. It's not about, the next diet or, all the things that are out there. There's great information out there, eating whole foods, because there is a chemical, gosh, I hope I don't sound too conspiracy here, but food is chemically, how would you say it? It chemically modified to keep you stuck and to keep you addicted. And so there are foods out there that are designed to keep you stuck and addicted. And again, it will be that uncomfortable shift where it's like you'll start making choices to fuel yourself in a way that will bring a healthy balance to your whole body. So that is important. However, if you only start with food and not work with the emotional, mental aspect, and when I say physical, I'm talking about your nervous system and all that. If you don't work with that, it doesn't matter the food you eat. Because one of the things I said at a conference this past weekend was, we don't necessarily only have a health epidemic. We have an identity epidemic. And an identity epidemic is we don't know who the heck we are. And we keep looking to everything else for the answer instead of connecting to ourselves and trusting that intuition. Mark, I love how you brought that up. Trusting that intuition of like, I am created to care for my body in a way that includes all of the things that can heal, but work on the emotional aspect. Because from that will flow life. From that will flow your power and your authority and your strength and your healing. Because when that changes, you will literally make the choices of how do I eat in a new way? Do I want to do 75 hard? It's like I only did 75 hard. Gosh, this is my second round to do it. I did it a year and a half ago. And I actually studied it for 2 years. Like, I look out, I want to do it. No, that's so dumb. Why would anybody want to do that? But I was after the discipline aspect because I find myself, I'm very, I have experienced myself being very ADHD at times. And so
Call
I'm
it
like,
organic.
yeah, exactly. And I'm like,
Organic.
I want to do 75 hard just to see what the outcome is. So that was part of a process for me, and I loved it. It was great. I knew it was going to be healthy. I knew my body would be stronger, all of that. I knew that outcome. But that's not why I did it. I did it for a mindset shift. And so, look for the things that make you curious or have you open up curiosity, which again opens up possibility. And then I'm about to do a very shameless plug of my ta-da course, which is Think Differently About Health. I'm going to show my little workbook here. Little, it's a lot. It's an 8-week course, and you can do it online anytime you want, or you can wait to start and join a cohort, but it's also a community of people who are really. I just had a woman join yesterday, and she's like, I have been doing all the diets, all of the things, and I'm at my heaviest, and in order to be different, I have to do something different. 100%. And so like, this is how you eat, this is how you exercise, because there's plenty of fantastic information out there on how to do that. This is what's going on in your brain and your nervous system. What is that internal dialogue? Moving from dependence to independence. What's your family of origin? How, what patterns are you repeating? What belief systems are you repeating or still clinging on to? And how do you know what those are? And how do they keep playing out in your life? And then how do you change it and live it out? And so it's this process. I also just started level 2, where we're working on parts and parts compartmentalization. Parts and parts integration, which is kind of similar to IFS, internal family systems. And, and we're talking about compassionate accountability, which is actually discipline. But so many people have defined discipline as a bad thing. And there's so many definitions to discipline. But it's like when we have a compassionate accountability, everything starts changing because your lens changes. And so it's this process of really getting to heal yourself and love yourself to health in a completely different way that isn't you white knuckling your health journey.
I want to add something to this. So if you're listening or watching this right now and you continually are making decisions to go on diet year after year, if you continually go for a couple of weeks or a couple of months and you get some results and you fall back, here's what you have the choice to do. You can hope that you're going to find a diet down the road that's going to work for you. If it hasn't in the past, history tends to repeat itself, or you need to understand you have default settings that are running subconsciously on autopilot right now. You do a little bit more work in the beginning now. Get under the hood. Look at the carburetor, see if it needs adjustments. Make sure the oil levels are good in this engine of yours. You do that now in advance, you will find something that is a limiting belief that you didn't know you were having in a course like this. And what happens is you're going to have a massive dopamine fix. You're going to feel like you did every drug in the book, okay? And because you're going to get this high that you've never experienced before, because for the first time in your life, you saw something from a different perspective, from a bird eye view, from a washing machine view. And this is where the work starts, or you're going to be on the diet roller coaster ride for the rest of your darn life. You got two choices. I know these programs work because this is what we do, with people. And unfortunately, most people, when you start talking about it, they're like, that sounds like work. I just want Ozempic, or I want the quick. And that's the way we're conditioned as a world. I get it. We all want to solve things in 5 seconds. But if you're looking to solve it in 5 seconds, it's below your top 2 or 3 values, which means you have no bandwidth, which means you're looking for external motivation and resources. You may not get what you want. So do the extra work, do the research, listen to your intuition. If you're listening to the show today or watching this darn show today, you're here for a reason. Your intuition got your hiney here today to watch or listen to this. Use it to not just inspire you, but to do the research and make the changes. I just want to add that.
That was good. Polly, what would you say to the person listening right now who's still thinking, it's too hard, I'm too old, it's too late, I'm too confused, I've tried everything, they've just got that little mouthpiece at this, sort of a turning point moment. If you could look into the camera, what would you want to say to the bird?
I'll throw in my bird mug if you get started with Polly's course here. Okay. So
wow.
Free bonus.
How many bird mugs do you have?
Just one. Okay.
Yeah. You're going to have to start. What I would say to that person is, I love what Mark said. It's like, you are here for a reason. You stayed through this whole podcast to listen to it because there's something inside of you that craves, that has hope. And it may be just like this little bitty, but it's like it's scratching at you and you may have a diagnosis or not, or you're just tired, and you're tired for a reason, because your body is not designed to run at high RPMs all the time. It will literally burn your whole engine out. And so of course you're tired. Of course you're like, oh, I'm over 50. I'm over 60. I'm over 70, whatever. It's like, no, it is not too late. And it's not this rah, let's do this thing. It is this beautiful, slow, consistent path of healing and hope that is literally a ripple effect. The people in our community, like one woman, she's like, I can literally, she had a conversation in the grocery store. She's like, where I usually get angry because, the berries I bought I thought were only $4.99, but it actually ended up being $24.99. And she's like, it was the first time in my whole entire life, and I believe she's in her 60s, first time in my whole entire life, I had a clear mind. And I was able to realize that it was my mistake. In the past, I've always blamed everybody else. Y'all made this wrong. She gets mad, all that. So like, this isn't just a weight loss, get healthy, diet shift. It is life altering in every aspect of your life. And when you do this work, you will experience, like, whether you do work with me or whoever you choose to do work with, like, you'll experience this gorgeous freedom and hope, and you're designed for it. Like, you're not designed to stay stuck in the depression and the anxiety and the anger and the pain. You are designed for hope. You're designed for joy and movement and love and power. And so that, it. So instead of, staying addicted to the old emotional past, and instead of staying stuck in the old patterns that are completely unconscious, wake up and wake up in a way that is so freaking refreshing and life-giving, and enjoy the life that you have and are created for.
Love that.
Go ahead, Kel.
Yeah, I was going to say, so you have so many great things going on, just legacy-wise, where are you headed next?
Goodness, when you ask that question, what do you mean? Sorry.
They're doing 150 hard. That's the new program they're starting.
150 hard, yeah.
You've got your program, your books, your coaching. I know you work together with Bob. What is it right now that you want people to know about, places you can help them?
Yes, please. Please follow me on social media, because I'm always putting out information out there. I have a 7-day free workbook to kind of, if you just want to put your little toe in the water of like, what is this really about? Go and you can download my free workbook off of my website, which is tadahyou.com, TDAHYOU.com.
Do that one more time, a little slower.
Thank you, TDAHYOU.com. So it's Think Differently About Health, acronym, tada.
Perfect.
YOU.com.
We'll put it in the links.
You can get that there, but you can also go follow my social media, which is all Polly A. Hamp. It's Polly. So Pollyanna is my real name. God bless my mother. And I love my name. So I speak at different conferences. You can go look at my schedule and see if I'm in your area and come and check out some stuff. But also the community, the Tada community and the Tada course is really where I'm really pouring my heart into right now. I do live coaching in our community every Monday, just on different topics of boundaries, communication, responsibility, different compassion and accountability, just all of these different topics. And we have a huge, I think, 45 episode library in there. Oh, I did just launch my new podcast called Be Ablaze. And so you can find me on Spotify and Apple and YouTube. And Be Ablaze, just real quick. So when I talked about being a stripper in college, all as women and anybody in the sex industry, we have stage names, and you don't ever want to, you have to operate out of a different person to be able to do that business. And so my stage name was Blaze. And it was several years later, I was doing this Bible study. I had this very religious phase. My poor children, I apologize to them profusely. But we were doing this Bible study, and we were asking God for a new name. And people were getting like Esther and just, Ruth and these, biblical, powerful names. And God's like, girl, I already named you. And I'm like, you did? He's like, yeah, Blaze. Your name is Blaze. He's like, what the enemy tried to kill you with in the industry is the very thing that I put in you. It just got distorted. And so Be Ablaze is a podcast, not just about health, but it's about what is your fire? What's the thing that's in you that you're called to do, that you're so passionate about? And sometimes it's just figuring it out. And even if you're 50, man, I love being in my 50s. I don't know about y'all, but I love it. I'm like, there's something to it, Mark, when you were like, I don't know if it's just our age. And I think there's definitely a part of it, because I'm like, I love being in my 50s. So
I'm hoping to love the last few years of my 50s. The 6, I was getting divorced, so I felt like a criminal on the run. So,
yeah.
but 50s are kind of cool. They're kind of cool. So I think one thing you really said I want to reiterate is you talk about community. Once upon a time, Weight Watchers used to be an amazing company. And why were they amazing? Because they had the most amazing community of support. Along the way, they, after COVID, decided to change all things, change their identity. They didn't even have an identity, and now they are, hanging on by a thread as a, bankrupt stock company. I'm pissed off at them because I lost a lot of money in them. Okay, so as a disclaimer. But maybe that's why I have a chip on my shoulder. But community is everything, and when it comes to stuff like this, why? Because you realize you're not alone.
Yeah.
It's not just you. These are patterns. There's nothing wrong with anybody. They just got crappy patterns that have been implanted, installed before they were even aware of it. And you definitely had that. And boy, oh boy, what a great story. So what an amazing, amazing, journey you've had. And now you're just hitting, I kind of feel like you're finally in gear right now. It seems like
100%.
You got everything in place and gear now. And that's exciting. It's really great to hear it.
Thank you.
Probably 2.0 or higher, probably much higher. Yeah, that's good.
Now, Polly, you have to hypnotize Kelly to go on a date, because I've been working on her for a while here. For all the
Get those
stuff that's
heart walls
taking place.
down. We'll do some sessions.
She gets that deer in the look headlights when I talk about this. She's like, oh, don't change the subject, Mark. Okay.
We're not going to talk about that. Thank you. You made an inner vow. I get it.
Yep. I did.
Yeah.
We've shared some of our past traumas, and we always say this podcast is not for all you watching or listening. It's for Kelly and I.
Yeah, I guess.
Doing our own butts.
Well, speaking of our listeners, Polly, if this was just a final wrap up, if you want to look into the camera and just encourage our Fit Over 50 Life audience, people just looking to optimize their life, live those longer, stronger, healthy, vibrant years, what would you want to say to them?
I want to say, and I'm sure everybody says this, but it is never too late. And starting today means just learn to start connecting to yourself and recognize that you don't have to live in that unconscious state anymore. You can become, consciously aware, connected, shift the emotional state and find hope. And the other thing I want to say is, so many times we're told that healing is hard and it's painful, and it is. However, have fun. You get to do this. When you choose to do it, that means you get to do it. And so when you choose and get to do it, that means you also get to choose to have fun, elevate those emotions, connect to the joy and the things that you desire, and be curious and have a blast.
Love that. Well, Polly, thank you so much for just being so transparent with your story. And we definitely want people to get your Cherish book, but even more importantly, all the new work you're doing with Tada Academy. And for our listeners, we hope this really stirred something in you. And we want to encourage you to share it with someone who really needs to hear this. And we're all becoming more cherished is definitely the goal. So we want to give you all of Polly's links so you can get connected to her and subscribe to what she's doing. And please do share this episode because there's so much powerful information in there. Polly, thank you so much for being with us.
Thank you so much for having me. I appreciate it.
Polly, thank you so much for coming on the show. Gang, make sure you like, follow, and subscribe. Share this episode with people in your life that may be on the fence and need some help. And make sure you follow this wonderful woman. And you can get your life in order and take it to the next level. Hopefully you got something out of this episode. And that's a wrap. Thank you all for watching or listening. We'll see you on the next episode.